Thumbs up.
We good?
Yep.
All right, it's 7:00 and call the select board meeting to order. I'm on Zoom. I think everyone else is in the room. I apologize for that. I'm gonna go over the meeting. The public comment, liaison town manager reports, trash cart rollout and general DPW updates, downtown parking kiosk update, discuss options for a future Pleasantry Center, brief discussion on the MBTA turnback tracks that's been going back and forth, and future agenda, approved meeting minutes, and then we have executive session, and with returning to open session at the end. So, is there a lot of people in the room that want to do public comment? Can you do a show of hands, please?
Three.
Great, all right. So I'll let Karen run the public comment, so, cause she can pick on people, as they raise their hands or if there's a sign-in sheet.
Who would like to go first? Public comment.
Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to provide a shot.
Could you tell us?
Oh, I'm sorry, my name
Thank you.
Pat Crowley, 71 Vine Street. And I'd like to provide a short update on what we have been doing to both the selectmen and to the people at home who could not come out tonight because of the weather, but are very interested in this. We've been working very hard, writing plans, contacting people, doing research, and coming up with some, what I think, or what we think are some exciting alternatives. While we are trying to protect the residents of Reading from all the pollution, emissions, diesel fumes, and also the conservation, we are also very, we wish to have the MBTA continue to enhance the service. So we're not against the MBTA doing the service, but we do not want to be a freight rail. So we have handed out some, should have a handout on what we are doing as far as the health and the well-being part of it, which I will speak to. Lucas is going to speak to some of the alternatives we have come up with, and Jim is going to talk about some of the concessions that we have talked about. The reality is, if you could visualize a distance of 4,500 feet, which is not long, with trains idling from 5 a.m. to 11 o'clock at night. That's what we learned about at the last conservation meeting. This is 18 hours of trains idling in that short distance. This is at the same time trains are going back and forth from Haverhill all day long, including freight trains at night on this track right beside this new track. Now think of all the health issues, and we have documented in our report. We have them from Johns Hopkins, we have them from Anderson, we have them from other places, of all the studies that have been done on the emissions. All the cancer, brain, asthma, everything you can think of has been attributed to these deadly emissions. If at the same time you could picture with these trains running for 18 hours a day, picture the location. I mean, 4,500 feet sounds like a lot. If it was in a freight yard, it wouldn't matter. This is in an area where there is a soccer field. Practices are there, games are there. Parker School is there, 600 students all day long. The Tannerville unit of 80 units of elderly and disabled residents, they're protected by the environmental justice designation. They should have had a say in this. They are in a protected area. The hundreds of residents in neighborhoods of Babies, young children, families, and residents with disabilities. And then you add conservation land, where $2 million was just done to enhance the trails. And this is going to be sitting in the heart of the conservation land when it stops. There is the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, that in 2023, they empowered the state and local government to protect residents from the emissions. Along with that is the consent decree in the court case of United States versus the MBTA, 2010, and that was because of train idling. Now, you say,
Ms. Cronley, I just want to let you know you're at 3 minutes and usually we allow 2 minutes per person.
oh, okay, I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
What can officials do? We found out in Braintree, officials listened to, the mayor listened to the residents, and as a result of them listening, he worked with the MBTA and he moved the idling trains to an industrial place. We just want to protect all the residents and still have solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And for people in the room, and just before the next public speaker comes, we are going to have the MBTA at our February 4th meeting. Is that correct, Matt?
Yes, that's correct. I've confirmed that.
So we're going to have representatives from the MBTA at the February 4th meeting. That'll be an official agenda item. And even though it's not a public hearing, I will open it up to residents, as long as it's not repeating the same thing over and over again, so we can have a productive meeting. I know this is a hot topic these days. I don't want to disrespect any of the residents. I know this is a major issue, and I appreciate the public comment, but just keep in mind that we are going to have an agenda item in early February, and all the residents are welcome to attend. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Jim Riley. I live at 87 Hancock Street, in Reading. I've been there in this same location for over 60 years. I'm going to keep this short. I'm here tonight to discuss the MBTA proposed second rail turnback track. Our issues and concerns in opposition as residents in Reading, and our proposed list of concessions, which I would like to provide, which I provided you, and make it part of next week's agenda. But that's a discussion point. The first concerning issue I have, and I think a lot of people has, is that the MBTA has not provided the town of Reading any in-depth document, only a brief document to our Conservation Commission. So we residents, the select board has no information as to what is going on. An in-depth document would discuss things as actual start and stop times on this heavily used track, amount of trains used daily, amount of commuters it services in Reading, and actual cost of the turnback track, because another person getting up here is going to have alternatives which seem cost effective. We've been in touch with the town management. We've been in touch with state representatives. We heard only bits and pieces from the MBTA residents. We residents do not want a diesel locomotive staging rail area behind our houses or in front of our houses. And usually you use that term for a big industrial complex. This will end up being an industrial complex, in my opinion. Reading residents' health and well-being must take precedence over MBTA issues. And that's why we're here, is for you to help us do that. And the agenda for next week, I would appreciate it if we could put our list of concessions on that agenda. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Lucas Prado with 85 Hancock Street of Reading. So I'm similar to Jim, live right next door to him. And we abut the train tracks, and I believe him and I and only a few others, I'm not 100% on this, are the only ones that got a letter from the Conservation Commission, because we actually abut the tracks and we abut the conservation land. So that's a little bit concerning, like Jim said. I don't think other abutters were even notified of this information. So that's what we're ultimately looking for, is a voice in this situation. And once again, Matt, appreciate it. We've been sending you information, great replies and everything, communication. Mark, we had discussed it the other day. We're just looking for a voice and some guidance on how do we have a voice in this situation. So just to kind of get to what I wanted to talk about. So as I was getting involved with this last week, I started to do some research. A neighbor friend of mine sent me a document, and this document was put together by Transit Matters. And I would highly recommend that you there's a link in the document that I put together. And that's where I just started reading and reading and reading, and it kind of started to build my argument. And it's not even an argument, it's once again proposing alternatives for the whole scenario. But one thing I forgot, the main reason why I'm here, just to reiterate what Pat and Jim said, is to protect my family of 5, my friends, my neighbors, and everybody along the neighborhoods of Vine and Hancock Street. And also too, to quote Governor Maura Healey from her State of the Commonwealth address the other night, she quoted, or I quote her, to protect and strengthen the things we love. Can't stress that enough. That is the reason why we are all here, to protect the things we love. So this document, just to get to that, and I want to try and breeze over it quickly, but I'd like to also, if you want me to discuss this more, if we can bring it to the agenda. I know the meeting on February 4th is going to also have the MBTA, but once again, to get our voice out there as well too. But so just to get to, say, the first page here, the turnback track and the diesel locomotives, which I don't want to reiterate, but once again, they have a 30-minute maximum of idle time. Otherwise, they exceed an EPA law. So just simply flipping to the next page, I want to go through this pretty quickly because it's a fairly lengthy document. But once again, reiterating the Transit Matters document from 2021, what they propose and they recommend in that document is there's a Wildcat branch in the Wilmington area, which the Haverhill line currently sometimes uses. And what the document states, and once again, I'm using their information, I didn't do any of this research myself, but they say they actually recommend pushing the Haverhill line over to the Lowell line. It's maybe potentially a little bit more efficient, and the infrastructure's there ready to go for that. And what they ultimately propose, if they do that, you see that figure 1 there, they propose closing service from Reading up to this Wildcat track. So in other words, think of it. You have potentially, I counted on Google Maps, there's 10 road crossings that could be closed in Reading and Wilmington. So once again, as you start to read this document, and once again, like I said, as I read this Transit Matters document, it just kept the bigger picture of this alternatives that I put in here. It's not just Reading. It's Wilmington, it's Linfield, it's Stoneham. So the further you get in the document, I think you'll start to see that a little bit more. So just kind of moving on to the next page, excuse me, skipping to page 4. So alternative 1A is there's current infrastructure right now south of the station, so just south of Ash Street. So anywhere pretty much behind Market Basket all the way down underneath Interstate 95. There's currently double track and triple track and switches to make this actual turnback situation happen south of the station. So just moving on, page 5 shows you some figures of that current infrastructure. But then once again, I know I'm short for time. Another solution, alternative B on page 6, you could install potentially
You're at 3 minutes.
What's that?
If you're at 3 minutes.
At 3 minutes? May I get one more minute or no? No?
You coming to your conclusion?
Well, I'll just, once again, if
We will read this, I
It's
appreciate
okay.
this.
All I ask is that the select board read it, and if we could be put on and we could actually talk about it a little bit more. Because if you read it in full detail, and especially on the last few pages is where the benefits of not just Reading, but other communities. There's a lot to be had in that situation instead of just the current turnback track that's proposed behind our houses. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We don't have any more public comment requests here in the select board. I don't know if there's any online, Carla.
Anything online, Caitlin?
There is no one raising their hand. Nope.
No, thank you. All right. And just thank you for everyone speaking. We've been getting all your emails and they're very helpful. And our state delegation is well aware of this. I'll go over next week the agenda for that meeting with Matt and Jane. And normally, we don't put public, about citizen input into the agenda. So I will discuss that with Matt and Jane, but we all want to hear from the MBTA, the board. They have not come before us. Unfortunately, per the guidelines, they don't need quote unquote our permission, but they're going in front of conservation, but we're all well aware of this. Representative Jones, Representative Haggerty, and Senator Lewis are all aware of this. You've made them aware and they're involved. So I think it would benefit all of us to hear from the MBTA, to hear about their plans, why they want to do this, why they can't do it by the DPW, because I don't have all the answers. So we'll put that agenda together next week, and we'll allow, public comment as if, within reason, as if it's a hearing, even though it won't be a public hearing. But I don't want to discount anything that's going on in that neighborhood and what they're trying to propose. But I'm hoping there's some kind of reason they need to do it there or they want to do it there. But again, I don't know. But again, thank you, and we'll have a broader discussion on the 4th. So next we have
Could I just ask,
liaison reports.
could I just ask one question?
Sure.
Jim Riley again. If they're gonna come here and they're gonna speak to this group of people, we ask them to put what they're gonna propose in writing so we all understand it?
I'm hoping to get that in the packet, yes. We will, Matt has been corresponding with the representative from the MBTA, and I'm hoping they have some kind of slideshow and presentation and the reasons that this is needed, not wanted. Those are two big distinctions. So, if that's not on the agenda, any kind of presentation, I don't know why they'd be coming, unless they're just gonna tell us we're gonna do this anyway. But obviously we'll try to fight that as much as we can. But
Thank
we will work on that, and I am hoping to see, as sure as my colleagues, to see some kind of presentation on why the MBTA wants to do this and why it has to be in that specific location, given all the concerns from the emissions, from the noise, from just the disruption. So we all want to know what you want to know, trust me. But thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have liaison and town manager reports. I'll start with Melissa, please.
The school committee met on January 16th to review their FY '26 budget. Two big takeaways from that meeting is that there will be free full-day kindergarten starting in 2026, which completes the commitment they made 4 years ago to make this happen. They will also be adding a kindergarten teacher position to their budget due to higher enrollment in recent trends. I zoomed into the conservation meeting on January to listen to what the MBTA had to propose at that meeting for this to backtrack. I was able to briefly attend and speak at the Land Summit, which was last Sunday at Matera Cabin. This is their second year having this meeting. It's a meeting that brings together Conservation Commission, Trails Committee, Town Forest Committee, and Open Land Trust to collaborate around their common goals and how to support each other throughout the year. And I was just asked to speak about how their boards can work with the select board and how they should use liaisons to give us information, and if they need to, get on our agenda for any of their issues, how that process should happen. On January 13th, I attended the Town Forest meeting, I zoomed in, I should say, I didn't attend, which they were talking about some incidents they're having in the town forest with dog walkers. They're still having an issue of who they can have as their phone number for their signs, although town meeting did approve their new bylaw. I don't think it's been approved by the state yet, so there is still a little holdup on that.
A few more weeks on that one.
Got it. And then I helped and attended at the MLK event yesterday at the high school. It was a great event with a fabulous keynote speaker, Ralph Bledsoe. Just wanted to thank all the town staff who made the event happen, including facilities, DPW, who's had to clean up and get all the snow removed for everyone to make it to the high school. Also, food service who arrived at 6:15 to make all the fabulous food for the event, and all the boards and committees that volunteered their time to make the event happen. That's it for me.
All right, thanks. Mark, please.
Thanks, Carla. So a couple of quick things. One, I'm sorry that the folks from Hancock Street and Vine Street have left. I just wanted to compliment them on their very proactive and reasoned and calm approach to trying to find alternatives. I think that it's a model for how we should be doing things. To reiterate some of the things that Melissa said, the MLK event yesterday was great. It was nice to see folks come out, and it was great that we were able to get in and out without any problems. So thank you, folks, for getting that done. The PBC, the Permanent Building Committee, has been meeting very regularly about the Reading Center for Active Living, or RECAL, including as we speak, maybe they just adjourned. I had to sneak out of that one. The committee has been reviewing the latest designs in this process, which is called schematic design right now, that will allow for cost estimation to be as accurate as possible. We're on a very frequent meeting pace right now to address questions and feedback from the committee. And I've got to say the work is very impressive, built from the extensive expertise of the architects, of the owner's project manager, and frankly, the very talented Permanent Building Committee itself and the folks in town who have a lot of expertise here. The plan is to share updated information with the select board at the Feb 4 meeting. I believe we're scheduled for that. I believe that the town has two key priorities to address for its residents right now. The creation of the Center for Active Living, RECAL, and the New Killam School. And you're going to be hearing more about both projects over the next few months. I encourage folks to attend meetings and learn more about these two key projects that should be coming to town meeting in April, and if successful at town meeting, to come forward to a special election with separate ballot questions. I strongly believe these are the two most important things we can do as a community. Back to RECAL, we will be having a public forum next Tuesday, January 28th at 7 p.m. at the Pleasant Street Center. That'll also be over Zoom. The focus of this meeting is to take a look at the design updates, which I mentioned the Permanent Building Committee has been working on now and providing feedback on. That'll all be shared there. Also, on Thursday, January 30th at 1 o'clock at the Pleasant Street Center will be a smaller meeting to share basically what went on at the forum. The town manager led a discussion last week about these two priorities, the Center for Active Living, the New Killam School, with the leaders of the projects, the chair of the select board, the chair of the school committee, so that we can work together to share our priorities and plans with the taxpayers of the community. As many of you know, I've been actively involved with the RECAL project for many years. It's very gratifying seeing it move ahead for consideration over the next few months, which is great. I also have decided that I will not be seeking re-election to the select board this April. I've enjoyed my time serving the community on the board over the last 6 years. I plan to stay very active in town through town meeting if I get re-elected, and in some new roles going forward. I hope to shepherd the Center for Active Living project through with the community in the coming months and to remain actively involved in the Reading community that both my wife Linda and I love so much. Whoops, jump to the next page. Thanks, Reading, for allowing me to serve you and to work with balance to move the community forward. I hope this board and future boards will work to reestablish some of this balance and make Reading an even more welcoming community that prioritizes its citizens and their needs, respects its volunteers, and serves our growing age 60-plus population as well as our students and families. Thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow board members, town staff, the entire community, and you all will continue to be hearing from me. Thank you.
Thanks. I just want to pause for a second. Mark, you really caught me off guard there, and
Sorry.
I appreciate you as a colleague. I appreciate your service, and you know, I wish you nothing but wellness. And you know, obviously we'll see each other soon. But I'm sorry to see you not running. But thank you for everything, and we will forge ahead. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Carla.
I can't say I guess let's go in order. I think Karen's next in seating order, so I'm gonna go Karen next, please.
Usually you'd go with the secretary next. That's how you go. So Mark, it's been a pleasure serving with you, and I'm really happy to hear you're gonna continue to stay involved but this community depends on both you and Linda, and we're better for it. Thank you. So I also attended the conservation hearing which the MBTA attended, and I want to commend Brian Bowe, I believe, was conducting the meeting, and Chuck Chiaroni was facilitating, and it was a good discourse. There's a lot of genuine concerns around this initiative, and it was good that the topic of the economic justice area of Reading was finally raised. It appeared that the MBTA was unaware of it, but I appreciate that they were listening. I appreciate they had answers, and I look forward to continuing productive discussions, and I think it's great that they're going to come in and talk to us more, and hopefully we can find a way to achieve both things, keeping our residents safe and healthy, and also taking the steps to improve the service in this community, because that is an important initiative for this community. We need that as well. So MLK Day, that was fabulous. In addition to everyone who Melissa thanked, there's a whole host of volunteers, including folks who just came into the room here. I see Ms. Doxer. I don't want to be remiss in trying to name them all, but they've been working really hard, and they're in the background, and it was an amazing event. The students, the Ipswich River Chorus, the speaker, just, kudos again, one of my favorite community events. And I also, Linda and I have been updated, and Matt as well, that the initiative that the select board started a number of years ago to update the portraits in this room is moving forward, and we should have Miss Harriet Tubman joining our collection very, very shortly, and our Office of Equity and Social Justice is in the process of planning an event along with the select board to make sure that we do a great job of presenting that and thanking the artist. So next week, I look forward to attending the MMA annual meeting this year. I will be serving as a member of WeMo. I've been appointed to the committee, which is a committee of women elected municipal officers. And, everything from finance to, I'm sure I'll hear updates on MBTA communities, and there's always climate law related. It's a wonderful conference, and I know we'll see Matt there, maybe we'll see Jane, and I look forward to seeing others there. Chris Cole, and I do believe Miss Albert Pless is going. I've seen Laura there in the past. It's very worthwhile, so it'll be great. It'll be a good writing presence. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Chris, please.
Thanks, Carlo. And thank you, Mark. I know, differences aside, you've devoted decades to the town between here, finance committee, et cetera. I can only hope to be able to compete with that amount of time that you've done. You've stepped up, you've volunteered. A lot of things in this town would not be happening because of you, and obviously Linda as well. But I don't know. You caught me off guard too, and it might be different than last year, et cetera. But listen, you've committed a lot, and I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it's almost like we need a recess, but I guess thank you, Mark. And like everyone else has mentioned, the MLK event, I attended that as well. Albert was on crutches, which seems to be the reoccurring theme for every event now for the last 2-3 years. So good to see he's continuing with that. But it wouldn't have been possible, like Melissa mentioned, without facilities and DPW. I know Chris is here. The last 2 snowstorms, or this one and the baby one before that, have been phenomenal. Just driving around as if it never even snowed after this last one was pretty incredible. So thank you, Chris, and DPW and facilities for taking care of that. I also attended the Frozen musical from Coolidge. Stephen McDonald runs an excellent program over there. We're very lucky to have him, as well as all the parents and volunteers that put that set together. It seemed, I was there for a hot minute helping take it apart compared to the, hundreds of hours other people put into this. But if an earthquake happened in Reading, that set would still have been standing. That's how well they put this together. There's a couple good qualified people that built that thing to last. So it's good to see the parents and volunteers just devoting their time to that. So I really appreciate it. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks. Unfortunately for me, the CPA meeting was the same night as our meeting, previous meeting, which I was late. But I did get an update from Mr. Carnahan, and the board decided to formally vote on to bring CPA forward in November 2026 and to bring it to town meeting as soon as possible. And that was the major theme for that meeting. There was some other things discussed about, what we're gonna prepare and present. And hopefully I can attend the next meeting. I'm having conflicts for a couple more Tuesdays with my daughter, unfortunately. She's a senior, so there's some stuff going on that I want to attend for her. And I'm hoping I can make that next meeting, which is next week. And that's really it for me. I've been watching some meetings. I haven't really attended any in person lately, unfortunately. And that's it for me. And I'm sure the MLK was a great event. I was not there. I'm glad my colleagues were there. And I echo all the sentiments that my colleagues stated about that event and how they got that off during a snowstorm. So I thank everybody for that. And Matt, I'll hand it off to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll echo what everybody said about the MLK breakfast. It was a great event. It is every year. I wanted to thank Albert, DPW Facilities for clearing it out. We were texting the whole day before, making sure it was going to happen and getting word out on Facebook and whatnot. And I was so happy to hear that it could happen, without a glitch. So great speakers, and I look forward to it next year. As you know, the fire chief is retiring, and we have posted that vacancy, so it has been posted far and wide. We're putting together a steering committee, the screening committee, to review the resumes, and also we're in the process of engaging a vendor for an assessment center. This is an important position. We want to make sure we get the right person to fill big shoes for Chief Burns. So we're going all out with an assessment center. I'll have more on a schedule soon. But Chief Burns says, I tried to change his mind, but he is going to retire in May. So no turning back now. So we're into the year of retirement for Mr. Burns. I also was notified last week that we're receiving a $19,000 state grant for firefighter safety equipment, staying on the fire department. I worked with Assistant Chief Nelson on this grant, so I was happy to hear we got what we asked for on that grant. So more state money coming to Reading, always a good thing. I told you before we were going to tour the dance school / church next door. We did have that tour on the 16th. We met afterward. We decided at this point not to recommend a sale at this time, given the condition of the building and other projects we have going on. We're going to still monitor what's going on there, but it didn't seem to be the correct fit right now after we toured the building. I had Joe Huggins there with me, facilities person. Jane came, Kevin, a lot of people from our staff came with me, and I think it's a good opportunity for maybe someone, but at this point I don't see a great fit for the town purchasing the building. And we could talk more about that at a future meeting if you'd like. The police department asked me to remind people that there's another car seat inspection event this Saturday, the 25th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's a free service. You don't need an appointment. You just show up and they'll inspect and install your car seat for the toddlers that need that. So that's always a nice service that the town has for people. And we continue to work on the budget, the warrant. Mark gave a great overview of what recal's looking like. Killam is right on the same track. We'll have an update there. I agree, those are the two major projects leading into the spring and beyond. So we have a great team on both sides, and we're working very hard on those projects. And I look forward to continue to work with you, Mark, on that project going forward. Thank you for your service. I remember when I first started 10 years ago, I think you were the chair of the FinCom back then, and just had consistent service since then, and I know before then. And I hope we could still have coffee at Nero like we like to do, so I'll be calling you up for that fairly soon, so that's it. One thing, Melissa, you had brought up an issue regarding the dog signs, and we do have a solution to that. Maybe Jane, if you wanted to say anything about that?
Oh, thanks, Matt.
We had a meeting on this last week, so.
Yeah, we met with the police chief, the town forest, with Bill Sullivan, DPW, and with health to figure out how we could manage the solution. We have our animal control contract is through Wakefield, and we pay them for particular services, and what's not included in that service contract is response to dog calls, stuff like that's not included in that. So there's a lot of kind of fine tuning of details. We do have a plan in place for a phone number and an email address for people to call in dog related complaints so that we can track those complaints and respond to them.
Good.
We won't necessarily, even police can't show up by the time they get there in the moment things happen. When there are incidences of assault or whatever, the police department will investigate those and have.
Fights.
Yeah, so we're also going, the town forest committee is putting up a sign at the location, which will have that information. There'll be a QR code. It'll also have some sort of, good manners policy, like do not confront people about the local bylaws. Log the issue with the town. So on our website, we'll have a dog log that we're working to develop so people can say, this is an incident that I had. And then we will be able to collect data which may inform future policy decisions for town meeting and various boards. So we'll be able to get a lot of data. So we'll have the dog log, we'll have a phone number and a voicemail that will be monitored. As the ombudsman, I will call people back if that needs to happen. That's sort of separate from an animal control issue. We do want to be really responsive. I have a dog, I get it. I also don't like my dog to be approached by dogs off leash. So I get both sides, I'm into it. So we had a great meeting. I think that there was a lot of satisfaction. I got a thank you note from Mr. Sullivan after the meeting. So we will be seeing that as we work through the IT issues and getting everything pulled together. We're still waiting also, of course, to make sure that the bylaw is approved, right? So once that's happened, then we will we can still do the dog log, we can still do the phone number and the animal control. Those aren't dependent on whether or not that rule is in place because we still have dog issues throughout the town. So we will continue to look at that everywhere.
We have the capability to, I think it's really good when people can just take pictures like that. I think I've been told that that's helpful from the police or whoever.
Sure, and they can email that in. It'll be like
Attach
animalcontrol@readingma.gov, or they can
Because we can do that in C-Click Fix now,
They can put it in
right?
C-Click Fix right now. They can send it to this particular email address. They can put it in the dog log. We've got lots of options, and we will continue to pull all that data together as well as we go. But we do want people to report it. We also want people to know if they're having an issue in the moment, like a barking dog that's going on for a long time, they should call the business line at the police department. So it's not an emergency, it's not a 911 call, but it's a business line call, and they will go out and respond to that in the moment. They can't respond if you post it on Facebook or, when you put it into C-Click Fix, you'll get a message immediately. If it's happening now, call the business line, the non-emergency line, so that people kind of, we know that some folks they don't want to call the police department over certain things, but they want people to know, and so we're trying to say, this is something you should call about, this is not an emergency you should
I
call,
think that's great.
et cetera, and so guide people to that. So those are some of the things that we've done, but we did a good meeting on that.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Carlo, if I could real quick.
Sure.
Thanks. Mark had me frazzled, so I forgot about the Killam's total project update is going to be at tomorrow night's meeting. So if people want to tune in to see what the project budget is going to be, it is tomorrow night.
That's correct.
And that's all I got. Back to being frazzled.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're all caught off guard. Mark, I have so many questions. I'm so annoyed I'm on Zoom right now.
If you'd reach out, I wonder how though.
I'm gonna ask one very very controversial question of you, just one. Chocolate, vanilla, or marble?
Ooh, chocolate.
All right, done.
I knew
Okay.
that.
I'd go with chocolate.
Certain things I guess I wear pretty openly.
All right, next I heard Chris is in the room, so we have Chris Cole, I guess, our Assistant DPW Director. I don't know who's presenting.
Yes, Chris will introduce. Mike Kessman is our assistant. He's gonna do the main presentation, but people had said they didn't know we had an assistant DPW director, so we thought it was a good time to bring out Mike. So Mike is here tonight to present you with.
And I know you've seen, quite a bit of me over the past few months, so I figured I'd take the night off and turn the podium over to Mike tonight to the Assistant DPW Director, to talk to you about the where we are with the trash and recycling cart roll-up. So Mike.
Oh, hello, my name's Michael Kessman. I'm the Assistant DPW Director here. And like Chris said, I'm here to give you guys an update on the rubbish and recycling cart program. Worth noting here is that these images you're looking at are accurate in terms of the color and the hot stamp logo on the side. And you can't really read the top, but I believe it says trash only, street side, and recycling only. So this is what the carts are going to look like. Next slide. So this is a new slide here. I added it today. It's not in your packet, but I wanted to kind of mention what there's six main components to this rollout here. The program as a whole. We have the purchase of the carts. We have the distribution locally, overflow bags, smaller carts and second carts, the disposal of the old barrels, and storage of extra carts, as we do intend to purchase a pretty ample supply of extra carts. Next slide. So what is involved here with all of that? We have 3 vendors we're working with. We have WasteQuip. We are actually purchasing the carts, the Toter brand carts, from WasteQuip. Worth noting is they have a 10-year warranty on the components and a 12-year warranty on the body. We're working with another vendor called Container Pros on the rollout, which is the assembly and local distribution of the carts. They're going to be delivered unassembled in big box trucks, tractor trailers, and these folks are going to assemble them and roll them out. We're working with Waste Zero for a supply of overflow bags, which is another key component. If you have excess trash, there'll be 2 ways you can dispose of that, either through a second cart or through rollout bags. I mentioned that we're purchasing extra carts. So the storage of the extra carts is kind of an issue. We don't really have room at the DPW yard to store all of these things. We have identified the end of Strout Ave as where we'd like to store them. There's a vacant garage over there that's not being used for anything right now. The site is going to require excavation and prep to put the containers on a foundation of some sort. So that required conservation approval, as it's within a 100-foot buffer to the wetland. So that's been completed. We have a approval from conservation to put these containers down there. So that's a check off the list. We're going to be helping you guys dispose of your old barrels. So after the new barrels are rolled out, we're going to be providing you 3 different ways to get rid of your old barrels. And we are offering smaller carts and second carts. And there's been a lot of outreach going on related to the smaller carts and the second carts. Next slide, please. So where are we at with all of this here? As you guys know, town meeting approved $900,000 in funding for the supply and delivery of the carts. We have placed the order, the purchase order has been cut, so the money's encumbered. And we are working with the vendors I mentioned earlier to make all of this happen here. And we are continuing our outreach regarding the smaller carts, focusing mainly on that priority population, but we are offering that option to all residents. Next slide. So the rollout is going to be staged out of the gravel parking lot behind the Burbank Ice Rink on Simon's Way. And we have scheduled this to begin The delivery is going to begin on Tuesday, April 8th. We are actually going to be starting our prep work the day before. But the delivery of the carts to households will be starting on Tuesday, April 8th. As I mentioned, the storage sites for the extra carts have been secured, and we are going to be putting 2 storage containers down there to store all of the extra carts. Next slide, please. This is a list of all of the communications and outreach we have completed to date. Chris has given several presentations, including a lunch and learn at the Pleasant Street Center. He also held a open kind of office hours event here. We've put notice in the pleasantries, we've put notice in the water bills, Facebook posts, et cetera, so we've really tried to get the word out to everybody that this is happening, that there are options for smaller carts and second carts. We've spoken to public safety, fire and police. And also worth mentioning is I met with the owners of Little Treasure Schoolhouse over there, so they're aware it's coming. There's going to be a slight increase, to traffic while this is going on, and we know that that's a pretty busy area in the morning and in the afternoons here, so I made sure to reach out to them. Next slide, please. So we have smaller carts and second carts. As you guys know, the priority is being given to the 60-plus and disabled resident population here, and there's been a tremendous amount of interest in the smaller carts. The DPW admins are taking phone calls. We have a shared spreadsheet that we're all adding information to. We have 366 entries in that spreadsheet right now, and residents are calling in on the dedicated phone number there, the cart hotline, just to put in the requests for the smaller carts. So of those 366 entries, the numbers up there show how many requests for 48-gallon and 64-gallon carts have come in here, which is significant. And in terms of the second carts, we are going to be providing second carts through a use agreement. Folks are going to go in on OpenGov and sign up for that use agreement. It's going to be $200 a year for the second trash cart. We are going to be offering second recycling carts at no fee, but residents will still need to use OpenGov to put in that request. And as of today, that portal is live. And I believe, Chris, how many people did you say signed up?
We had like 6 in the first hour.
6 in the first hour for folks who want second carts. So if you have, next slide, please. So if you have excess trash, but you don't want a second cart all year long, you'll have overflow bags as your other option to dispose of extra trash. We are working with Waste Zero on a proposal. We're working with Waste Zero to manage the financial portion. There's a little bit of back and forth there about how the finances are going to work. But ultimately, these bags will be available at retailers, bigger retailers like Stop and Shop and Market Basket and CVS, and we're also speaking to some smaller retailers to try to have them available in different locations all around town, so folks don't have to just go to Market Basket, et cetera. And one great thing about Waste Zero here is that they coordinate directly with the vendors, kind of taking us out of the loop. We're not going to offer them at the counter downstairs in DPW. They're only going to be available through the vendors, and they handle all the money and everything, so that's the best solution for us. Next slide, please. So this is a summary of the order quantities here. So we started with our baseline order from assessor's office data, and these numbers reflect locations that are currently served under our existing contract with Republic. We have the quantities from the small cart sign-up sheet. And then the last column shows extra cart quantities. We have until February 1st to make any adjustments to these quantities. At that point, the vendor has said, no more changes, final numbers by November 1st, February 1st, I'm sorry. So the total number here, we're looking at 400 48 gallon rubbish, 448 gallon recycling, 7,872, 64 gallon rubbish, 364 gallon recycling, and 7,765, 96 gallon recycling. Next slide, please. So the order budget, this slide summarizes the cost, including delivery for all of these carts. We are up to just shy of $880,000, so we do have $20,000 left if we feel we want to add more carts to this order. We still have the ability to do that. I do want to mention that the rollout is about $90,000, and that's being funded separately from the 900. And the storage containers are also being funded separately out of the trash account. So the $900,000 just couldn't absorb those items, so we're funding them differently. Next slide, please. So the rollout is going to be staged out of that gravel parking lot behind the Burbank Ice Arena. The Reading Ice Authority was very willing to work with us, very happy to help. I've been talking to Ed down there, he's been great. So beginning on Monday, the DPW is going to install a temporary chain link fence to secure the area, to protect from theft and vandalism, but also just to separate the public that will still be using the ice rink during this time from the rollout to keep everybody safe. The way the rollout is going to work here, tractor trailers are going to be arriving overnight and be delivering the unassembled carts to the staging area. Next slide, please. And then there will be 2 daytime crews on site that will be working to assemble the carts and load them onto smaller box trucks for local delivery. They're going to be U-Haul kind of style moving trucks, you know, reasonably sized, smaller trucks. And these crews like to work 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to get this done as quickly as possible. They're telling us they can deliver about 2,000 carts a day, so it's 1,000 per crew. We're saying the rollout is going to take 2 to 3 weeks to complete. If everything goes smoothly, it might take less, but we're telling everybody 2 to 3 weeks. And DPW staff, including myself, the highway supervisor, Jeff Cummings, we will be on site to make sure everything goes smoothly. Next slide, please. All right, so now the carts have been rolled out and you're looking at your old barrels, wondering what the heck do I do with these things? So we're going to help out in 3 ways. We are planning a special curbside collection of old barrels. It's looking like every Saturday in June. Republic is going to be doing curbside collection of those barrels as a special collection event. We are also going to have a roll-off dumpster at the DPW yard that you'll be welcome to go at your own convenience and dispose of your old barrels. And then we have our annual spring recycling event sometime in May or June, final date to be determined. There'll be a rigid plastics event. You're welcome to come and drop your barrels off then if that's convenient for you. We're urging folks to try to figure out how to repurpose these things if you can, opposed to disposing of them. But if you do need to dispose of them, we're going to be there to help. Next slide, please. And storage of the extra carts. So as I mentioned, we just do not have room at the yard to store these extra carts, but we are going to be ordering extra carts and extra parts of all sizes and types. We want to be able to respond quickly to resident requests and future needs, and we want to position ourselves to be ready for the future as new requests come in and everything like that. And as I mentioned, the conservation end of this is approved, and the containers are scheduled to arrive on Friday, February 21st. That date is flexible. We have a little bit of prep work to do, so if we're not ready, they'll let us push it back, but I feel we're in great shape to have all that in place for when the rollout occurs. The extra carts are going to be assembled at the staging site, and then they're going to deliver them to Stroud Ave for us. So when this is all done, everybody will have their carts. We're going to have containers full of extra parts and carts, and we're going to be well positioned here. Next slide, please. And then we have the future of the rubbish and recycling here in Reading. So after this rollout is complete, we are going to work and look ahead to our next main contract here, which is the next rubbish and recycling collection contract. As you guys know, our current contract expires June of 2026. So we're already working, looking ahead, working with a group at Mass DEP with Jane Wellman and other folks here. So our goal is to put out an RFP to get competitive pricing. And by rolling out these trash carts, we are going to be prepared for a switch to automated collections, which is where the industry is going now. So this rollout is key to have a successful next rubbish and recycling contract. So that sums it up for me. If you guys have any questions, we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Karen, can you, I'm sure we all have questions, I know I do, but maybe
Mark raised his hand first, Mr. Chair.
yeah, you could just handle the room and I'll go last, or I'll just, comment. But yeah, thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Mike. Thanks for.
You as well, Mark.
It went really well. So a few questions here. First, delivery details. Will they be dropped off in people's driveways during those dates? Where will they be dropped?
They are going to be, I believe they're going to be dropped off either like in your driveway apron or at the side of the road, right where you would typically put your trash out. I don't think they're going to be like going up to your house and putting
Ringing the bell? No?
Yeah, no. So, yeah, they'll be left down by the road in front of your house.
Okay. And just thinking about the communications, I know that as we talk about recycling and getting the most competitive quotes, there might even be consideration of recycling every 2 weeks as opposed to every week. Are the folks that are requesting smaller recycling barrels made aware that that might happen? And
Yes.
just to be aware?
Yeah, we're making sure to let everybody know that part of the new contract is going to be likely bi-weekly recycling, and most of the folks I've spoken to personally say, oh, it's just me, or we only have one small red bin a week, so we're fine. But we're making sure to bring that to everybody's attention.
Great. Is the expectation when the new ones come, you can start using them immediately, right?
Yes, we're asking folks to start using the new barrels immediately once they arrive.
Great.
Carts.
Is there going to be some kind of training, I guess videos and things, just to make sure that people realize that street side out means street side out?
There is going to be some information distributed with the carts, some pamphlets on the carts, how to care for the carts, some information on our end as well. So yeah, there will be some information that's going to be somehow attached to the cart while they're distributed with information like that.
Cool. And I saw your list of communication, which is great. Is there already, or might there be a video coming that will kind of be instructions on just 1, 2, 3, here's what you do?
That's a very good idea. I think we'll start talking about that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Chris?
Thanks, Karen. So I have existing barrels that I know would work, and we've already belabored that point. But my existing barrels have raccoons or something that have eaten the tops, et cetera. So what are we doing in that case with these new barrels? Like, I know you're ordering extra parts. Am I just gonna call up, my top barrel's destroyed, then I pick it up from DPW a week later or something? Or how are we gonna handle?
Well, we have the dedicated cart hotline phone number. I see that turning into long-term, the hotline for folks to call if they have any problems with their carts.
And the email address.
What?
And the email address too.
And an email address, which we will be monitoring. Haven't quite figured out the logistics in terms of, are we gonna bring a new lid to your house and install it there? Or are we gonna bring a whole new barrel and install it there and take your old one with you? So we're still working on that, but we are certainly gonna be responsive to any requests folks bring our way.
And I think there has to be not like a tire tread gauge, but some form of knowing that you're not gonna qualify if a raccoon bites a corner as opposed to like the whole thing being destroyed. So like, it's gonna be realistic.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do a little bit of figuring out, you know,
I
as
can
we
give
go
you an
here.
example of one that needs to be replaced, and then you can go from there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if animals are getting in it or rodents are getting in the cart, I think at that point, you know, that's a problem that we want to avoid.
Yeah, that's, I've been trying.
It's tough.
And then what are we doing if somebody steals the barrels? Are these assigned numbers to houses? How are we going to know that I didn't take Mark's barrel to my house and now Mark doesn't have a barrel?
They do have some type of a serial number on them that is going to be logged by the rollout company. And we will have that information. Are we recommending to people that they write their address on them or something like that?
No.
No, we are not recommending that you write your address or name on the card or anything like that. And these cards do not have RFID chips. Other communities have the RFID chip that's scanned when it's dropped off. Container Pros has told us they are going to note the serial number, and we will get that information all back, so.
So as long as there's some differentiating factor, which if it's a serial number, yes, then I can't steal my neighbor's barrel and then don't pay $200 every year because now I got my second barrel for free.
You just ratted yourself out, Chris, so.
We get enough people that are gonna pay attention to it, so.
Yeah, no, there'll be ways to prevent that.
And then in terms of the extra carts that people are gonna order, are those gonna be done after the initial rollout or at the same time, or you haven't picked a way to do it?
The OpenGov portal is live as of today, so folks can actually start putting in and agreeing to that user agreement and ordering the extra carts as of right now.
My question is, if I do order the extra cart and then you guys come and deliver the cart, I assume you're doing one per house, but now I got my extra one. Is it gonna do the two at that time? I'm just saving you the headache of the phone call and people saying, I gave you $200 and you didn't give me my extra cart. You're gonna be fielding 300 something phone calls. If it isn't communicated that these are coming after the initial rollout, you'll receive your extra ones or at the same time. You know what I mean?
Can I look to Jane to answer that question, please?
Sure. So that's a great question. It's our intention to have everything that we know of by a certain date. We're not sure what that is yet. Container Pros will tell us. Then those will be the ones that are included in that initial drop-off.
Okay.
Container Pros looks at every single address through Google Earth, every single one to know where they're putting every single cart in our order. So it is a multi-week process that they take on. Once we send them all the documents from the assessor's office, they look at every single one at a very granular level, and then we discuss with them questions, right, if they have questions about certain things. So it's very, very detailed. And so that's part of the reason why we've done all of this prep work in advance to get all of the non-regular orders in line. And so that's why we have the priority group. Now we've opened up the second carts, and there will be a certain date when, okay, everybody who is in by this time, we can accommodate them in April. And then after that, we have, Mike and Chris have put together a number of extra carts that we'll have. So people who come in later, we can do those on our own, or we can add them later. And then if we run out of what we've ordered, we don't anticipate that will happen, but say it does, then come July 1 with our new budget, we'll order extra carts. So we have no reason to think that we won't be able to accommodate anybody with a special request. But there are certain dates, like we have to get the order in, we can't change the dates after February 1. So we're trying to get ahead of those things with the quantities, and then we should be all set to accommodate people who have made the smaller cart choice or the extra cart choice at a certain point. But I think your point is well taken, Mr. Haley, that setting expectations is important.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as long as it's communicated that everyone has to get this in by February 1st, if you wanna be in the initial round of delivery, then that's gonna cause people like me who wait till the last minute to not actually wait till the last minute if I wanna get this, so.
Sure, it's open today, go run out. It's not necessarily February 1st, because we have extra orders in the quantities if you look through so we should be fine for a bit, and then we'll let people know.
Chris, just don't steal your neighbors, okay?
They'll know.
They have cereal.
I'm stealing Mark's.
He's not on the board anymore.
I know.
Hey, I'm still here. Don't be burying me.
Taking marks. My last question is the trash bag scenario. So I think something like Quick Stop, I assume they need to have some inventory kind of program in order for these bags and things to work. So I mean, obviously like a convenience store kind of thing seems like an easy jump for somebody else. I'm not sure, it's centrally located. I'm sure there's a couple other ones that you guys can think of, other than the supermarkets, et cetera. Because you don't want to keep them here. I understand you want to handle cash and logistics and all that. So it's just an option.
Yeah, I think we put together about 10 different locations that, and Waste Zero, they do all the outreach for us. So we tell them who we want to target, and then they go and talk to them. And they handle all the inventory. I think we have to buy like 40,000 bags. And all of those are stored at an off-site warehouse. And then Waste Zero deals with the vendors and ships, delivers the bags directly to them.
And just lastly, on that point, the whole reason is the town is not making money off of this scenario. It's all the increase in the tonnage of the trash. That is the issue. That's why these extra bags, that's why you have to lease the carts. It's, you know, I'd love to keep the status quo of what we've had. That is not going to continue, unfortunately. Or it could, but we just have to pay up the wazoo at the next contract, and then no one's going to want to go ahead and do that, so.
Which is why we're going with the RFP, so that we
Yep.
can analyze the most competitive pricing, and that gives us the ability to spell out everything that we want within the contract. And
Thank
all
you.
that. You're welcome.
No, I don't think I actually have any questions. I think you did a great job, so thank you, Mike, and it's
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you.
Excellent. You as well.
Great. I thought the presentation was terrific. Good job. I could tell you really thought about this, and it's a 360-degree plan. Good for you, and I'm really happy to hear. Really happy to hear you're going to deliver and pick up. That's awesome, and I appreciate all the work that went into the flexibility on the sizes. I've definitely signed up, and I don't quite meet the cutoff, but my husband does. And I think that's really going to help residents. So I really appreciate this. This is a really great service. You know, not the most exciting thing in the world, but I am pretty excited because I have horrible barrels and I've just been like waiting. One thing that occurs to me is I appreciate that the Ice Arena was willing to help out with this initiative. And so the North Shore Skating Show is April 4th to the 6th. Did that come up in your discussions?
Yep.
Because they really depend on all that parking.
Yep.
So I didn't know. And then I've heard from residents, they're then right immediately after it's springtime and they're down there for parking for games all the time.
Yeah, so you are correct about that event that ends on Sunday. And, you know, we want to get these things rolled out in the spring here. So we're working with them with that window. And I've communicated with Parks and Rec that a portion of this parking lot will be occupied during that time. And we're hopeful that there will be ample parking for all the other needs that will be going on during that time.
Okay, well, good.
It's gonna, I didn't mention, it's gonna take up about half of the gravel parking lot.
Yeah, so that's a lot.
It is, yeah.
So you're not gonna set up the fencing until after the skating show?
Correct. The skating show ends Sunday.
Yep.
Monday, we're gonna be out there setting up the fencing. They're gonna start showing up with the tractor trailers Monday night into Tuesday morning with the unassembled carts.
Okay.
The distribution crew is gonna show up 7 a.m. on Tuesday and start putting these things together and delivering them on Tuesday.
Great.
I do have one question now. What about soccer? You said 3 weeks? This might overlap spring soccer, and spring soccer just depends on what the weather looks like, so that's a little tricky. But that could be interesting for games on those Saturdays back there.
We're hoping for less than 3 weeks.
Okay.
If things go well, they could be out of
Maybe.
there in under 2 weeks.
I think the earliest they've ever started was like mid-April.
Are they Saturday only?
Games, no. Yeah, Saturday. I guess most of them are on Saturdays or Sundays.
Typically.
Saturday, Sundays, but that could be interesting.
It could be, yeah, we'll have to keep our eyes on that.
Talk with our vendor.
Jane, do you have something
Thanks.
to
I
add?
think if anyone else in the room, I have a few questions.
Yep. Go for it, Carla.
All right, thanks. Did I see in the slides that these are getting delivered in February somewhere?
No, they're getting to,
Storage containers.
The storage containers, yeah.
The storage containers?
Storage
okay.
containers are coming in February, yeah. The
And
carts
those
arrive
will
at
be at Stroud Ave.
the end of Stroud Ave, correct?
And those are gonna be permanent fixtures there?
Yes,
And so we're purchasing them?
we are.
Okay. And the garage, how big is the garage over there?
It's a 2-car garage. It's probably about half the size of this room.
Okay, so not big, okay.
Not too big.
All right. And you mentioned that, you know, fencing in that area, which makes sense. Are there any other fenced-in areas in town that we could use that would be more efficient?
Are you talking about the rollout site?
Yeah,
We were not able to identify another site to fit these needs here. We tossed around a few other ideas, like Camp Curtis is one we kicked around a little bit. It's just we spoke to property managers for the medical building down on New Crossing Road there that's very close to the DPW yard. I thought that was a great site, and they told us they have new tenants coming in and they don't expect the parking lot to be empty. So we really came to that site behind the Burbank as kind of our only option. And the fencing is just gonna be temporary fencing, that construction style fence with the weighted base. And it'll be gone the day after the rollout's done. We'll break it down and get it out of there.
right. I was just thinking of some of the parks that have fenced-in areas that maybe they're not as accessible.
No. There's also requirements in terms of the surface. They want it to be a hardscape surface, you know, that you can roll the carts on and drive the vehicles on. And then we certainly wouldn't want to take up, you know, any of the parks and take away residents' use of those facilities.
All right, and if, I have some questions about other DPW related items, but if we're done with the trash carts, does anyone else have any questions on the trash carts?
All good.
All right, can someone give us an update on when,
Thank you, guys.
people,
Thank you.
people can, thank you. When people can apply for second meters?
So that's not on the agenda tonight, so.
It's general DPW updates, yeah, it's on there.
I can give you just a brief update. The letters went out last week to any residential property that had these second meters already. And they're being given until February 24th to sign up and start the process for that. After the 24th, we're gonna put advertisement out there that it's gonna be open up to all residential that may want that after it through the open gov site.
Yeah, so by our meeting on the 25th, will be good to announce?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Chris or for Mike?
I just had one comment, Carlo, to the second meter situation. So all of the meters that we're putting in, the new ones are all these smart meters.
Correct.
So that when we had the discussion before, and I mentioned that we're gonna be moving to them in the future, all the people that get second meters going forward are gonna be the smart meters for monitoring the
Yes.
water usage, et cetera, leaks, all that. So just wanted to reiterate that point, because that's definitely better for anybody who's getting them, and we're not wasting money and people's time by putting in
Exactly.
basic stuff.
And with the smart meters, you'll be able to know immediately if you have a leak in your system or excess usage, whatever it may be. You'll be able to monitor whatever the usage is.
And is that an app that the resident's gonna be able to get? Like,
Yes.
do we already have?
I don't know what the app is, but when they install the second meter, they will be given like a welcome package, if you will, that'll explain everything in it.
So it's hands-off from the DPW side, it's on the manufacturer, or,
Sorry, what was that?
like, is it hands-off from the DPW? It's basically from the manufacturer is how this is gonna get set up? Like, who's gonna, I have a problem with my thing, who am I contacting? It's not you.
The water, the meter division,
Okay,
DPW.
okay. Thank you.
Do a quick follow-up, Carlo?
Yeah, sure, Mike.
I think you shared with us that there's a bigger plan for smart meters for the community over
Yes.
time. What's the timeline?
I believe it's 2 years out,
2 years out.
so maybe 27 or 28, I think.
Carlo, I have a quick different topic, general question. So these last two little snow events, and people were going by my house and doing my sidewalk, and I was just like, it's not even an inch, so like, thank you anyway, it's like really good. And I was like, oh, we owe some big sidewalk equipment these days, and the job was great. I'm just wondering about budgets and overtime, as compared to private events, the way it was done the last two times. Can you comment on that?
As far as like what we spent.
They did, yeah.
I don't have the number off the top of my head, the last event was just yesterday, so I don't have those numbers yet. But we'll monitor the snow and ice budget, and if need be, we'll ask town meeting in April for additional funds for that if we need to. But we'll keep an eye on everything and make sure it's okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Any other questions for Chris or Mike? I think we're good, right?
Right.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good
folks.
job. Thanks. Nice to meet all you guys.
Thanks. I can't see the room, so I don't know who's gonna be doing our,
Deputy Amendola is here to talk about parking.
all right, thank you.
Deputy Chief.
Deputy Chief Amendola.
Not deputy.
Hi Carlo, hi everybody. Tonight, we know you wanted some parking updates. We thought we'd focus more on, most of our concerns, with you guys have been either the 2-hour or 4-hour in the 2 parking lots. So we tried to provide some data of how it's been looking over almost like the last 10 years and any changes to help you make any decisions. And just some of that. So if you ever want more of a breakdown of what all these citations are about, we can give that to you. But tonight we wanted to focus on 2- and 4-hour overtime parkings. So if you want to do the next slide. And this 2016, 17, and 18 are pretty comparable. I just wanted to show you guys, like in 2016, there was a total of 2,838 citations for parking. That includes overnight and all of Reading. But for the downtown area, the overtime parking was 350 citations out of those 28 or so hundred. So that was 12% of our citations back in 2016. Violations of not having the correct permit was about 18% of our violations back in 2016. And then when I say all other, the 1980, that's everything blocking a crosswalk, blocking a sidewalk, hydrants, and those numbers are just scattered all over the place. The permit is usually one of the higher ones back in those years. And we can go through 2017 as well. At the next slide, sorry. Oh, yeah. And again, 2016, 17, and 18, it is all only 2-hour parking, just so you're aware. The 4-hour parking lots did not change until 2019. So this is all, and if I say overtime parking, it's over just 2 hours. We only issued 270 citations back then for that, and that was about 11% of our citations. 2018, next slide, roughly the same, a little increase. 362 overtime parking tickets, which took up about 14% of our overall citations at that time. I skipped 2019 and 2021 due to COVID, obviously very different. We also did not have a parking enforcement officer, especially a full-time one, until about 2022. We got a part-time one back, so we can skip to 2022. Here you can notice things start changing again. Now we have a 4-hour rule for both parking lots and the 2-hour on the streets. Sorry, I can't even see my walk up here. So we issued 371 citations for overtime, which equaled 21%, 855 for the various, and 512 for the no parking permits that year. And then you see in 2023 is where the biggest jump starts taking place. For overtime violations, that is now our #1 violation. We had 810 citations for either being over 2 hours or over 4 hours, which is 48% of our traffic tickets. We issued 223 no parking permit violations, which is only 13%, and then 650 other tickets, which equaled 39% of our traffic citations that year. Next slide. In 2024, and we also changed over to IPS enforcement at that time, so I can give better breakdowns of places, locations, rather than our old company didn't really track much data for us. Last year, we issued 758 tickets for either being over 2 or 4 hours. 648 of the various. I just wanted to throw in that 71, the 4% is just those 2 to 3 weeks that we had paid parking, and those were the failures to pay. And then now, very big decrease in the no permit violations, only issued 77, with that only being 5% of our tickets. So then I wanted to break down in 2024 to you the 2-hour tickets versus 4-hour, just so you can have an idea of what's going on more. 60% of the violations are actually from the 4-hour 2 parking lots. 40% is just all the on-street 2-hour violations. And then if you want to do the next slide. Some people always wonder which lot does what. It's very even. They're about 49.999% even. One Brandy Court had 228 citations and Upper Municipal Lot had 229. So that was just last year. So they're very equal, even though sometimes it might not look it, for enforcement of being over the 4 hours. Okay, next slide. I know you guys all know this, but just talking with economic development, we just wanted to show why we believe the overtime parking has increased so much, or sorry, the violations of overtime parking. Reading has seen 205 residential units in the last 10 years, which include 398 bedrooms, and this is all just downtown. 39 more residential units are currently being built. There's been an additional 44,500 square feet of commercial space across 7 projects. We have another 5,200 square feet of commercial space currently being built. With all these new things, there's been no additional public parking added anywhere. Changes to permits and such, but not actual parking. With all those buildings came 281 private parking spaces, which you guys know is 1.4 spaces per unit. Just going over, you can see, but the numbers have doubled since 2018 in our overtime citation, which is why, we looked at the kiosks for the turnover. The parking lots were chosen because of the design, turnover, and those were obviously what people most wanted to park at, so we wanted the biggest turnover there. And I already told you the Upper Municipal Lot changed in February to 4-hour lots, so sorry, both lots. And just the next slide is just a quick little version of how January is going so far. Overall, and this was as of January 15th, 79 parking violations in the downtown. 60, just of the 79, 60 are overtime violations. 19 in the Upper Municipal Lot, 18 in the Brandy Court Lot. So those are your 4-hour ones. So just if you look at mathematically what Bridget works, it could increase another 40 to 50% of last year's citations. Just to go over to the employee pass permits, we think the program's working very well. As of last week, we already had sold 150 passes. So I think we have ample employee parking passes. It's just a matter of them utilizing the space. I think just like you all know, we have plenty of parking. It's just not where some people want to park. I think the permit violations have gone down as we've encouraged many businesses to park at the depot. I've asked our parking enforcement officer not to be there right at 9:30 looking for every sticker, give people a little time. So if they need to use the depot, obviously it's there, so we want them to use it. So I think that's why our permits have gone way down in violations. That was just a brief overview to break down kind of where our 2-hour and 4-hour stands. I'm not sure if you want to hear any updates on things we've done with kiosks or IPS in the past couple months.
I'd love to.
Okay. IPS did come in and switch out all of our tap readers. They're all currently working. We checked again today, so the tap feature works. Though they've told us, like other companies, that's the first thing. Sometimes it gets very finicky, but the strip part should always work, the inserting the credit card. They know that the system can be adjusted or manipulated for the 1-hour free. You could keep doing that possibly, so they're putting some back ends that can't happen, that it would protect a car from only getting one license plate one time a day, can get a free hour. We've talked a lot about that free hour. I'm not somebody that likes to do things based off of one business or location, but I get CVS has been there a long time and people are running in and out. Because we would really recommend the 1 hour makes it harder for us, the 1 hour free, but I understand what you're dealing with in making that decision. So with that, I've talked to the DPW, we went out there, we created some signs, if you were to implement it back, making some larger signs to really explain everybody just needs to enter their vehicle, even if you're staying up to 1 hour, to hopefully pass on that message, to really put your plate in so you don't get citation by accident. Again, more signage. Some of the ways it was set up wasn't so great, so we want to move the signs right to where each meter would be, well, especially in the upper CVS lot, right where the 2 kiosks are. The signs won't be 4 feet over, it'll be right there. I did speak with the DPW about moving the one that's under the tree. It's very complicated. They said we could move it probably in front of the little walkway, but that's only like a 3 feet move. And then we'd be a little worried about people being more in the driveway. But so there's not a lot of great space until they can really put some money into reconstructing that parking lot. So that's the problem with moving that one kiosk. It kind of could be in a better location, we all know. Am I missing anything for the IPS?
There's only one thing I'd chime in, which is when we were testing the kiosks today, as it happens, we were all out. Yeah, of course. We each sort of independently, the three of us, I think, ran down and tested the kiosks today just to make sure they were working. And I tested with American Express, which was one of the bugbears. It's not very widely used, but it's annoying for someone if it doesn't work. And I also tested using my iPhone, so you can tap and pay or tap the card. So we know that those work. But I will say on the topic of the positioning of that kiosk outside CVS, having uncovered the top of it where the photovoltaic panel is, the battery was fine today, powered right up. So if this is January and we've been having low light in the low winter sun of, November, December, January, we're kind of in the depths of winter in terms of the shortest days. So I think it's probably safe to say that it doesn't appear to be a concern for the battery life in the position, because that was one of the issues that we weren't sure about. So I think we've probably, knock on wood, we've put that to bed if that was a concern.
And we also, we've been meeting as a group, even larger group, more town hall staff. We heard your concerns with, better instructions. So if you do plan to go forward, we do have a plan. We would make the videos that have been asked, and, we just don't want to put a lot of time until we know if you want to move forward, or any money into it till you want to move forward. But we did listen to all the concerns, and we have a plan if those were to ever get re-implemented. Anything?
Just the same for the app, pay by phone app. All of the mechanisms are hopefully being put in place for either no manipulation, the payment scheme, everything's up and working there as well.
So just to be clear, because, so do you feel like you've been able to, I think you had a list of all the type of misfunctional complaints or dysfunctional complaints. You think you've been able to work through that whole list?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thanks, that's great news.
We should have a couple questions, Carlo.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thanks. So it's interesting to me that when the parking lots changed from 2 hours to 4 hours, we had more violations. Why do you think that is?
So my opinion and what Bridget sees too is that once you stretched it to 4, employees thought, oh, I can get away with kind of like staying there like an hour before, hour after. Yeah. So they're in there now. That 2 hours really kept them out. Like that's not enough time for them to switch their cars around. But 4 hours, I think, enables some people to stay longer.
That's interesting. So I've been down there various times, various days for, and I try to pop in just if I'm driving through. It's not full back there.
Which lot?
CVS.
Right, yeah.
So I think there was a big issue with all the construction.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the issues, that lot was full and you were getting the constant phone calls from businesses. I think that was one part of it. It is very interesting to me though that when we changed it to longer, it became more of an issue. And I think, Kevin, you said that if we changed it back to 2 hours, that would be the only spot in town. I mean, we wouldn't have anything more than 2 hours, right? Anywhere?
Right, as far as I can tell, that's
Yeah.
true. And if we do that, that's fine, just to be aware of it.
Yeah, no, and that was a great point, 100%. No, a very valid point. Just very interesting that when we changed
I think the goal, what we heard back then when we changed is, well, what if I'd like to get my hair done and go to a restaurant?
It's
so
fair.
it was like, okay,
It's a very
we'll give you
fair
4
point,
hours. And now that has caused, And I'm not saying there isn't any parking, but there wasn't for a little while. Construction, yeah, that comes and goes, so that
Yeah.
probably was a big pain for anybody in that area.
And are you seeing that the violations of the overtime parking are the same people?
So I started looking that up real quick. Like I said, our new system, it's definitely the same cars have at least like 2 or 3 a year that I see. But I can break it up to a little more. If with more time, we can see how many people are.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but by state law, we cannot increase the violation after, like, say they do it once, you can't increase it a second time.
So we can give them a double citation if, let's say, I'm in a 2-hour spot, you've given me a ticket for 2 hours, and I stay another 2, we can give you a new citation.
Got it.
We can't up our fee anymore because the penalties will go over $50 if they don't pay, and that's the state limit.
All right, thank you. I appreciate all this. This was great, very helpful.
Anyone else in the room?
I guess I'll go, Carlo. Only because so how does Cambridge and stuff get away with it? Their tickets are like
I don't know,
$500.
I've read Boston's and they're higher too, I don't know, but we did check with our town council last year and they backed up all the laws that I've read.
As opposed to a city, or what's like?
I don't know if they're just not following the law. I don't understand
They're not
it either.
following it.
No, I don't know. I don't want to say that, but I've read Boston's and theirs is higher. But I've read the law myself and we asked our town council and they said that is the limit. So I'm not sure either.
You got me on that one. Because I've had to pay some Cambridge tickets before,
Right.
and it's ridiculous. So a couple things. If we do institute kiosk scenario back, have we given any thought to the elderly sticker scenario where someone could apply, it would be free or whatever, they have to prove XYZ? Like, have we given any thought to that on how many?
We didn't put much into it, but I mean, I think that would be something you would tell us you would want. And we can do it. I mean, we can obviously do any sticker thing you guys would like. So I haven't seen it used by anybody else. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything. We'd be willing to.
We branched some creative ideas with both IPS and Pay by Phone, and they're beta testing this coupon-based system that either businesses or the town or others can kind of subsidize paid parking for their users and customers, and kind of cover the cost almost like a permit, but it's not super relevant maybe to the senior discussion or senior only. But I think that's a program we can easily build and kind of implement if desired.
And yeah, the other thing I wrote down was the double ticket scenario that would seem to kind of solidify the problem, like $20 or $25 is nothing, but when it's 50
Right.
and that day after day, then that like really adds up, doubling.
Right,
like
and you'd be surprised how many people do not pay their tickets on time, that end up paying a lot of fees. Then they have to run to our station to pay us, over $60 of each ticket just to get their car back registered. Somebody
Oh.
downtown just had to pay, I think, 257 old parking citations.
257?
Yep.
What's the total?
I won't say who.
What is that?
Somebody that works down there.
I just want to thank you. This
Oh,
is
yeah,
like,
thanks.
again, this is like a second grade presentation tonight. I
Okay.
love the data. I hope you didn't have to spend hours, but I loved the data. Thank you. And I would say that last slide, we don't necessarily know all of that stuff, so thank you.
Okay, good.
About the units that have been built. I'm thinking about the Chute Street project, which has gone nowhere. If it goes somewhere, that also puts pressure on the downtown, but so that's a great, thank you for
Oh,
bringing all
good,
that
thank
data
you.
to our attention.
Help me with that.
All right, well, thank you
Yes.
very much. It's great, spot on.
My last thing is to help me make a decision at maybe the next meeting, whatever it is. I would like to know if we are able to, if there is a secondhand market for kiosk, if we did decide to go ahead and sell them, or if you can investigate if this exists, if,
I have
gently,
another
lightly
plan for what I'm
used.
gonna do with them. But that's not my.
Because-
Does it generate revenue?
No, should have helped me.
Baseball bat.
Yeah. I don't know anything about that.
We can find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could, I mean, they could be surplus like any other government property. and-
Well, I don't
and
want
then
to,
sold.
I mean, if, I don't want to give them away.
No,
I
no,
understand that I was obviously directly responsible, plus this board kind of thing, but.
Post town meeting.
Plus town meeting, I understand.
It's kind of-
and it's hard to swallow the amount of money that we spent. Nobody wants to say that they were wrong or right or whatever in this thing transpires, but if we're able to recoup 80%, which is impossible, but I'm just throwing that number out there,
Yep.
it would minimize the risk that we put ourselves to. Or if we get nothing and you're saying you're gonna write them off or whatever, then that's a different scenario.
We get something for them, for sure.
And some of it still goes to our enforcement, that we're not gonna, we can look at other vendors if we leave IPS, but some of that money is still gonna be used. It was used for the enforcement part of it too, so it's not all.
And I
just the
did
kiosk.
speak to Bridget on a walk like a week ago, and she wanted to remain in Switzerland, so she did not have
She does
one.
that about everything though.
She's very
happy to
happy
just
that she
work.
has a job
Yep.
and is very eager to stay employed, et cetera, so I appreciate her honesty of wanting to remain neutral. I guess, I don't know if you have an opinion one way or the other, if you would want to get rid of them or not.
I really believed from the beginning that they would help a lot of the parking complaints. I think that they would have. I see them work in other towns. So I understand our businesses don't like them. I do. I'm not saying that that's an easy pill to swallow for them, but I do think it would help their customers in the long run. Make sure that they have parking to go there. Whether they don't want to walk from the depot up here, they just don't, even though there's parking. So I really do think that eventually people would get used to it and feel okay using it. I know personally, I'd rather just spend $1 and have a parking spot close to where I want. That's me. I've talked to my friends in Andover, PD, that went through the same thing, and now they have kiosks everywhere, and every lot is back fully functioning from the beginning when it was a little upsetting to everybody.
I would agree with that. I would just see if we can investigate the elderly portion, because CVS was a
that's
hot
an
button
easy part of
issue
it.
regarding that. And I don't want to turn back to start giving North Reading money again and that whole
Right.
spiel. So if we can make it a little bit easier for some people that are obviously only going there for 10, 15 minutes, running in, doing whatever, I don't see it being somebody, kind of trying to game the system just so they can go there. You know what I mean? So,
And I think it was asked, like, can we add some short-term parking in that lot? It's very hard for the police to keep up with any other more short-term. We already have the 12, and people call us right away, so that's really not something we would like to see happen.
yeah.
I'd rather do it, what you said that way with the
So if you
senior
can
permit.
investigate, see, plus the resale kind of scenario, and we'll see how it goes.
Just a couple of questions, Carl.
Yeah.
So with the kiosks in place, how would enforcement change? I want to make sure Bridget still has a job, because I see.
Oh, yeah, she will. It would just, it's not, in the parking lot, the citation will just be failure to pay instead of over 4 hours.
Got it.
So nothing changes, we'll still need her very much so.
Okay, so she's still got a job.
Oh,
Okay, so
yes,
that's
we
not
have
an
plenty
issue.
of parking elsewhere too, problems.
Okay, and then kind of back to the beginning and why we did it in the first place was to kind of manage the whole flow process, to ensure that it's happening. If we continue to have folks that decide they want to play for 4 hours, I think, Melissa, you were maybe going down the same path I'm starting to think of, that we gave away too much to people so that they figured.
Yeah.
So maybe again, back to
Take
the
advantage.
employee permit program, it's just the same folks. It's employee permit parking, come on.
Yeah, and I think we've asked, we show people the map, they come upstairs, we give them a map. We say, if you happen to be in Reading for the week because you're meeting with a lawyer, just park over here. You can walk from 2 streets over, there's no permits. So we do try to encourage people, if you need long-term, but short-term but long-term, there are places.
Yeah, I think that, we had a really bad start. We had a bad time and a bad start. And if we really have addressed most of the issues, and if this vendor is gonna work with us, because it felt like they weren't.
Right.
If they are, and maybe there are a couple of pieces that can get addressed separately with coupons or stickers or whatever, it feels like we knew what we were trying to do, we really have the things in place to do it. And I was just in Andover too, same thing.
Yeah.
Just, went to Cafe Nero or whatever in Andover to meet somebody, and sure, I kind of pull in and, the lot's quiet, it's 7:45 in the morning, and I'm trying to just figure it out, I say, there's the kiosk, I got it now. the little slight thing that peeved me, sorry, there's nothing I could do till 8.
Oh, okay.
It basically is like, yeah, nothing you can
Reading
do till
had to-
8. Oh, you have an answer for this one, Kevin?
Because that has been one of the banes, one of pet peeves at a meter, when you went up to a meter that you get there at 7:30, meters don't start till 8. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, right.
I have an 8 AM meeting, I'm gonna be late. I believe you can use the app, pay starting at 8. And the clock will start and you will be paid. When the paid parking comes in at 8 AM, you're golden. So I don't know if there's another way around it on the kiosk, but I know that it came up in the app. We can investigate and see, because obviously they're two different vendors, so it's how they handle it might be different, might be slightly different. Also, I just learned in our meetings with those vendors that the coupon, their coupons, each has a coupon solution that would be attractive to retailers, would allow them to pay for their customers' parking or offset some of the costs for their customers' parking. One of them, the mechanism would allow them to give them a coupon, which effectively would let them get a discount the next time they paid, whereas the other one, it would, in a sense, they would prepay, they would come in, they would pay for their parking, but the payment wouldn't actually go through. It would look like their card was charged, and if the retailer were to give them a coupon, it would give them a certain amount off, and then that would come back onto the discount. When the charge went through to their card, the discount would be reflected. So it's kind of a suspended payment for some period to allow them to do it. So thought that was quite clever, and I'm glad we found out about it. And they do seem to have, faced with the prospect of them not having any business from us, I think they sort of were responsive, which is a good thing.
Good. Thank you.
All right, I get to go last. So for me, so I equate this to when I go visit my brother in Medford, they have meters. And I'm assuming there's an app process to that, but you can put coins right into the meter. So when I go visit my brother in Medford and they have meters everywhere, I know where to park for free. I know if I can park right in front, I can see my car from the window, I don't pay anything. Or I'll put a few quarters in to go grab a slice or we'll talk to my brother. When I go to Brookline, when I know I'm going there, I bring quarters with me, I know they have meters, I don't have to download an app. Maybe I'm showing my age, but I am anti-app. I don't like downloading apps. I think it's a big inconvenience. And from what I heard, and I think what Chris and Melissa heard, particularly in the CVS lot, is that they get out of the car, oh, excuse me, do you know we have a new kiosk thing? Oh, well, can you help me? Sure, what's your plate number? I don't know. They have to go walk back to the car, take a picture of the plate, have very good memory, come back. So for me, it's a convenience thing, and I know I am one of many. And I know a lot of people have adapted to the app system, certain age group and others. So I was never in favor of the kiosk. I understood why they would benefit, and had the rollout been better, maybe I'd be more pro kiosk. But maybe Kevin or Lieutenant Chief can answer this. Have any of the businesses, I think I know the answer, complained about employees not being able to park?
I don't know about recently, that's what we used to deal with at the PD, but that's why we opened up all those employees. But we do take coins, Kyle, I'm not sure if you know that. We do take coins at our kiosk. And I think that it's just either you know your plate when you walk over there, or you would print a receipt and walk back to your car and put the ticket in the window. So those are the only two options for these systems. So once you know your plate, you're good, you never have to walk back.
Yeah, and sorry, for the kiosk, so the app saves your plate and card, for the kiosk, what we've learned recently too is that they're building another tool that if you use the same credit card, you can kind of pre-program with them your plate into that card. And now if you just go to the kiosk and put your card in, it's tied to your plate. And that can somehow synchronize and work together, so you don't have to remember your plate every single time, as long as you use that card that's tied to the plate. And that comes with logistics too, right? You gotta be in the same car, you gotta have your same credit card every time, but is somewhat of an improvement on that end to not have to run back and forth every single day if you can't remember 5P or P5, what was it? And so there are those tools being built to try to kind of alleviate those concerns.
I think, Carla, you had the perfect solution though, which is step one, take a picture of your plate.
I will
Step
say,
two,
I
go to the
just
kiosk.
used, yeah. I only used an app for the first time 2 weeks ago, and it's a timer on my phone, so it shows me right there, and then a message went off when I was 10 minutes to go. So I understand the app might be different, but it's actually really good and helpful of keeping track of your time.
I'm
In another
anti-app
place.
too, but
Yeah.
it is helpful.
Yeah.
That's three. I'm anti-app as well, Carla. You're in good company, Carla.
I'm out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess maybe I should better state what I said. At those two locations, Medford and Brookline, I was parking in a spot where I could put a coin, right there.
Gotcha, yeah.
You can go to a kiosk and
Right.
sorry, so it's a little bit different, but the whole credit card syncing up scares me even more.
I know, I wanted to
Yeah,
stop
it's
him
a
right
whole-
there.
yeah, And I
As far as
just,
security goes, I mean, listen, I think everyone knows where I stand. We're not voting tonight. It's a great presentation, a lot of data. It's exactly what we needed to help us. And I know Bridget's job is safe. I've spoken to him several times too, over the past few months. And we know there's gonna be people who are gonna, push the envelope and do what they do. But overall, I think it's fine, but I'm not sure, when we go to vote. I'm not saying I'm locked in, but it was bad timing. It was post all the construction. The park committee was maybe, it would have been better now served, but they covered everything anyway, but I hate to discount what the park committee did and all the work that, even Julie did and Andrew and town staff all these years. It's been going on for years and years and years. And parking management, it's not a parking solution. So I'm not a big fan in any community for the businesses. I know people adapt, and Brookline's not going out of business, Boston's not going out of business. There's other issues in the city that they have to deal with parking. But it was a great presentation, and I thank you for all the effort, and thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Carla, could we take 5 before moving on with the agenda?
Oh, of course, yeah. So I have on my computer 8:48. We'll come back at 8:53.
53.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
packet. So we were asked, the board asked us to find some potential uses, talk about the potential future of the Pleasant Street Center if, we go the way of the recalc and a new center is built and it's not the Pleasant Street Center. So we did have a meeting. I consulted with Victor and a lot of the other people that know a lot of the nitty gritty about what a building like that may be worth, what the finished area is. And so we have, you can go to the next slide, Caitlin. So I can go look around and see. So we put together that first slide, which just has some quick facts about the finished area of the building, the current assessment, and that came directly from Victor. We talked about what would it take to get a commercial appraisal done. I guess those are expensive, costly, and take a while. Not saying that we wouldn't do it, but at this point, just for discussion purposes, that's what we were able to find out from Victor, and we did get the current assessed value. We checked the zoning. It is in a multifamily A40 zone, but the square footage of the lot is smaller than what you would need. So we checked that to see if that could be, people are saying, would it be a good apartment, multifamily use place for the Pleasant Street Center? There would be a hurdle there. And the other thing that I think everybody knows is it's on the historic registry, so that's of local importance and maybe a little bit of a hurdle for us. But those are just some facts as we enter into the discussion. You can go to the next slide, Caitlin. So we kicked around some ideas about what would be the best use. What do we do for new life with the Pleasant Street Center? It is a historic building and one that the town already controls. So selling town buildings, may not be the most popular avenue, at least from the beginning. But, at this point, we're open to all avenues. So we've talked about keeping it for future town use, leasing it to a nonprofit, selling the property outright, or we could even do a gift to the housing authority and they may be able to put 3 or 4 affordable units in there. So that's, those are some of the options just to look into. If you go to the next slide, Caitlin, we have potential uses. So the slide on the left, if we look at commercial leasing on that, if we were to lease it out, we're thinking $20 per square foot. It could bring in $85,000 a year, which is significant. It's a moneymaker if we need it to be. And some things that might be a good fit there, a coffee shop, could be a small grocery, food pantry, could be a restaurant use. Art and culture is always talked about for that building. Training programs, maybe even some preschool use there. If the town were to keep it, we are short on office space, as people know. We're also short on storage, especially in this building. There could be an educational use there or additional meeting space, and we do have meetings there as it is. So those are just some of the uses and some of the revenues that we'd be able to generate, hopefully. If we go to the next slide, we put together some examples of nonprofit uses that have worked in other communities. So there's a place called Inspire in Wakefield that's sponsored by the Boys and Girls Club. It may be nice if we did not want to use the building for municipal use, to use it for a nonprofit use rather than sell it off commercially or lease it commercially. Breaking Grounds in Peabody was something that was recommended. It's run by the Northeast Arc, which is a nonprofit, and provides employment and training to people with disabilities, autism, and whatnot. And then the one of the final slides, if we talked about repurposing and what's done in other communities, there are older firehouses, and I have a couple of examples here, Natick and Newburyport, that were turned into performance venues, theaters, music, gallery space. I've personally been to the one in Newburyport, and it's very nice. And if you look at the one in Natick, it almost looks like our Pleasant Street Center a little on the outside, which is kind of interesting. So that, there's plenty that we could do there as well. So I think, I just wanted to put these slides together, generate a little discussion, maybe get some feedback. At least we know, what in terms of the assessment, what that is, what the square footage is. And if we go down that road a little further, we could do a commercial appraisal on that and find out how much that would bring in the commercial market. So, but with that, I can open it up to any questions. And again, it's early on in the process, but I agreed with Mark, since this is going to be a town meeting, there'll be questions about what are you going to do with the building, and we have some answers here, or at least some things to think about. So, okay.
Thanks, that's a lot of help, thanks.
Carla?
Yep.
Thank you. So, in the short time on the commercial and the appraisal part, I'm really not comfortable going with what we're comfortable appraising it. And you just went to the building next door and they're asking 2.5 million, and we all saw Walgreens and they were asking for $1 million. So I want to be careful not to mislead our residents. We don't collect taxes on this building. It really doesn't matter what we say. It's
Right.
appraised for. It's not,
Right.
we're not saying what the value of the building is. It
Yeah,
would
I
be
just thought it was a good
considerably
place to
higher.
start to get that information that we control to talk about, but I understand what you're saying, that's not, anything that's assessed is lower than the actual value anyway. So-
Yeah, I think we just want to be really clear about that.
Okay.
I love,
Good point.
thank you for bringing these examples forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is kind of neat how that other fire department looks like ours, so. So that's my comment at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, yeah.
Anyone else in the room?
Yep, a couple of quick questions if I could, sorry, can
No, go ahead, Mark.
So first, just to understand when it costly and time consuming for an appraisal, just what's the order of magnitude of cost and time?
I'll try to nail Victor down on a little bit more on that, in terms of an actual price and time. He said it would be a long wait, to get it done. I don't know.
We just have to call a commercial appraiser.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a shortage of people that do that kind of work, or
Got one
maybe.
done over on the
Okay.
Middlesex
Okay, well,
pretty quickly.
you're more in real estate than I am, you would know better.
It's worth a couple calls.
Okay, but this was the information we got for the assessor's office, so.
Yeah, no, it's great, I think it would be good to know what.
Sure, no, that's why we're
Is it
doing it, follow that up. Sure.
$5,000, is it, I know it's not $50,000, but
Yeah,
what is it and how much time are we talking about? So if
Yep.
there suddenly was a desire to explore that, we know what it would be as opposed to just costly. That
Sure.
would be great.
Yep.
Second is and maybe for those other communities where they've made the decisions on the repurposing, kind of how they went through their process might be really interesting to find out, just to get a little history on kind of what they went through, because I can imagine it was exactly the same process that we're sort of outlining. What are the different uses that could be there? How much could we get for lease money? What else could we turn it into? How much would we have to do there? I know that there would have to be some upgrades to HVAC and things like that would have to take place. So just need to kind of understand, what are the different pieces and parts. I know that there was also some discussion, so we have, kind of RCTV a little bit in space limbo.
yeah. Mhm.
So there are some municipal uses, I'll call them, if I could, town uses, that are beyond just, let's say, office space and storage space.
Sure.
That probably ought to be, just thought about as possibilities.
Okay.
And this is great. This, I think, accomplishes some of what I had in mind, is to be able to be ahead of this, to be able to respond to town meeting, to have us thinking about it, so that if things are moving ahead quickly, then we know kind of, okay, we shift into high gear. We've got to start, we've got some ideas on what it might be. I keep looking at this one in Natick, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Maybe we should have a tour there, yeah.
Yeah, it might be a lot of fun. So thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Chris?
Thanks, Carlo. Yeah, the way that I sit on this is, I think that we have to make it a revenue source. Because if we keep it, no matter what we're gonna use it for, and then we're gonna take on the other senior center scenario over there, our budget is just gonna keep going up, up, up. I understand the need for space, et cetera. So maybe there's a quasi, we keep the top floor, the downstairs gets repurposed for something else that we can make money off or something. Just, I think if we're gonna end up saying that this is gonna be a revenue source, it makes the senior center project passing more likely, knowing that we're gonna be getting funding on the other end from the prior building. I think it's an easier pathway forward if that's the case. I agree with Karen, the 869 thing is ridiculous, like, my house should not be worth more than this thing. It's easily millions, I'm sure, yeah. I won't belabor that point, but easily, at that location, et cetera, it's got parking over there, yeah, way more than that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think we have to make some form of revenue off this. But I don't even know who would go in there, how we would do it, et cetera. But like you mentioned, at least it's a good start to be talking about.
Right.
I'm not opposed to performance venue screenings, et cetera, as long as we're making money off of it, et cetera. And then if you want to have the top floor for storage or offices or something, fine.
Yep.
I just think that something's gonna get
Yeah,
used.
no, I agree. We want to show that we're making some money and that makes everything more palatable.
Correct.
You know, and there's the least situation that we could do even with a nonprofit, but it could be commercial as well, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also, here,
I agree with Chris. I just think that we do have to get some revenue out of it, especially because it is gonna need some updates. But we don't wanna lose it as a town asset either, so,
Right, exactly.
yeah, but this was great and thank you for the ideas. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, thanks. I think this is the slide presentation that you should present at town meeting as part of,
Sure.
a warrant article, in
Yep.
my opinion. And yes, I agree with Chris, and I love the partnering idea, with ARC or something like ARC. They're a great organization, and I don't think they would need the whole space. Don't forget, we have 3 floors there. We have the basement, the main floor, and the top floor.
Right.
So I think there's, dual tenant could be possible there, whether it's partly us for a few offices and partly for revenue, but I agree, that it would be, I just agree with Chris, it'd be a lot easier to digest if we said, the building is worth this as a rental income, or if we sell it, it's worth millions, we all know that, and I'd rather not sell a town asset like that, but it is an option. But I'd rather see us keep it because, we regretted selling town buildings in the past. So
Yeah, that's what
that's
usually
all I-
happens.
this is,
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Carl.
And it's too small for a Trader Joe's, it looks like, so,
Yep.
next time,
No, no
What's
problem.
Trader Joe's?
next time.
Kevin will find one somewhere to bring you, right? Trader Joe's?
Yeah, working on it, working on it.
So Matt, we did an appraisal on 59 Middlesex
Okay.
prior to April 28th, 2021, and we covered it in an executive meeting. I don't-
Executive session,
A select
okay.
board and executive
Okay,
session.
all right, that's a good
So
idea.
that report should be out there, the name should be out there. I mean, it took like a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If he's still in business, I mean, you can find some other name.
Right.
It was only a couple of years ago.
That's good to know. Next on the agenda is, I put the word brief in there for a reason. We all know they're scheduled to come on the 4th. We've all been getting the emails from the residents, and they've come to public comment at least twice. Matt's been, replying to everybody. And so I think that the 4th is really going to be helpful. I hope the MBTA has good reasons for this and not just jamming it down our throats. But I heard from a neighbor that works for Keolis why they want to do this. But again, he couldn't confirm it definitively, so I'm not even going to mention it. But I'm guessing there's a valid reason and why it has to be there. So I'm looking forward to the 4th. And I hope they bring everything they need to bring because I expect that room to be pretty full on the 4th, and I'm hoping they're prepared to answer all the residents' questions and our questions. So
And
that's all I have to say on that, and anyone else can go ahead.
Could I just add, Carlo, too, so they're coming to our meeting on the 4th. We had a meeting just today with the MBTA and the entire Reading delegation, and Jane was there as well. So they're committed to doing that meeting, and we also asked them to do a separate public engagement meeting, possibly at the library, to take it sort of out of the select board meeting after that and still have more public input and engagement, because that was something, they realize now that was something that should have been done at the beginning and it wasn't. And they apologize for it, but it's too little too late in my book. It should have been done. It wasn't done. It caused quite a commotion. The reps and senators felt the same way as I did on it, and probably hearing from the reps and the senators meant a little more to the MBTA because they sort of, report to them on the state level. The other bit of news is that the Conservation Commission, it was scheduled to be on tomorrow night. They are going to request a continuance to February 12th. So they won't be taking any public input tomorrow night. February 12th, Conservation, they'll take the public input and most likely make a decision that night, I would say. So there's a lot of work yet to be done, but we've heard, you'll hear in a couple of weeks, and I don't want to, prejudge all that. You'll hear some of the explanation from the MBTA, and they're not doing it just to be a pain to Reading. They have a plan, but I brought up the issue of mitigation right away. They seemed open to some ideas. They were going to take a few things back. They're going to give us some more information. We thought maybe a one-pager FAQs would be good, so we can share those with the residents and the neighbors. So they have been responsive now, which is good. So that's my brief update on that.
Thanks, Matt.
Is it possible to share with them some of the information that's being shared with us in terms of options?
Yes.
And then that would help them be prepared also.
Yes, yeah, I was going to share that with them, and I think that's already been sent to the Conservation Commission, and the Conservation Commission sends it to them too, but we'll send them directly that information. That's a good idea. So.
Yeah, thank you, yes.
Carlo, real quick. Yep. I guess my biggest concern is when I heard that the idling was going to be an hour, and then they knock it down to 30 minutes, once they find out the EPA thing ends up being 30 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is they're going to say, okay, it's 30 minutes, and then in the future, it's 45, 50.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to have people down there reporting them to the EPA on a consistent basis, you know what I mean? They're just going to say one thing and then do another. We got to know for sure it is 30 minutes, and this is why it's going to be 30 minutes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They're actually saying that the idling in the future with this track is going to be less than the idling now, and they can explain that because the trains are going to be moving more and not idling as much as they do now with the station. But that's something they brought up today. I want to see more information on that for sure.
Because I definitely see them idling there, like.
Well, they do idle.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
because it's, I'm immune to it now, I just hear it nonstop, so like, it's as if nothing. But sometimes I break the habit and I'm like, this train has been out here forever. I don't know what is going on, like.
Yeah.
So I'm sure some of these times they're breaking this 30-minute thing, but it's not like I'm sitting there timing people or I'm even new to report it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is I want to know that it's going to be 30 or under.
Okay.
And this is why it's going to be, because to leak an hour earlier doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
And then to just pivot back down.
Many of us, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So, okay.
Carlo?
Yeah, Matt?
Yep, so at the initial hearing with the Conservation Commission, we were told that the Board of Health has to enforce it. So I am all in favor of holding them to their promises. It is really important that we improve service to Reading for anyone who commutes, and we need more people to commute, so, yeah, mitigation, working with us is all good. But I definitely have personal concerns about excess idling, and I think they've been really good about reminding everybody that it's a depot, they idle all day long. I'd like to start hearing some promises of when the electric vehicles are coming. I haven't heard any. Be great.
They say
We can
it's
keep
coming, but
asking.
years
I
away.
know.
But
Yeah.
that's the
So, but
ultimate goal.
some of these items which I haven't read thoroughly are interesting, so I think that's a good suggestion, bringing it to them. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Melissa, anything?
Yeah, quick question. Karen, when we were on the conservation Zoom 2 weeks ago, you brought up something that I didn't know about, but it was some like,
The economic justice.
They got it, it's in there now.
oh, it is,
And they
okay,
kind of blew it off. They missed it.
yeah.
And it's
Cause you had
important.
brought it up and I was like, oh, what is that? So do we think that could come into play or no, or?
It may trigger more study, if anything. I don't think it's
Me
anything
too.
that would block the project,
Got
but it may trigger more study.
Okay.
They need to So that came up like Springfield. People love to build factories in places where people have no money or resources to fight back. So I'm not a lawyer, but this was put in place, and when these areas are identified, they need to make sure they're not placing a hardship, an additional hardship, to continue the wrongs that have been done for years. For all the same reasons, like asthma and poor air quality, so.
To just piggyback off Karen's comment of the enforcement being the Board of Health, my only concern is we have a lot of rules and regulations here in Reading that have zero teeth to them, literally. And I think that's a problem. So we can't just rely on it's up to XYZ. It's a feel good, this is why it happened kind of. We need actually something to happen if XYZ is broken. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I want to see how they're going to come up to this number, what they're doing, because I don't want to leave it up to other people to enforce if it's not enforceable in the end, other than we said that it's going to be that way. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure.
that's all.
Right.
If I could, just before close, so one other part of Karen's point too. So to the extent that their goal is in fact to improve service to commuters, that's a laudable goal. And figuring out what's the best way to accomplish that with the least impact, I think, is what we're trying to figure out.
Right.
And again, you summarized it really nicely, Matt. They kind of jumped the gun.
Yeah.
So now let's peel it back. Let's see what can be done. Let's see how we can do it right.
I agree. Okay, so that was my update on it.
All right, everybody good? That was
Yep.
good. I'm glad we talked about that because it's the first time we talked about it as a group. The fourth should be very interesting
Yes.
and enlightening. So next we have future agendas. Caitlin has put the fourth in our packet. And if the board is ready, I will add vote, discuss and vote on the kiosks. Or do we need more time? Whatever you decide, guys, or we're ready at the next meeting.
I just have to hear if Matt and Christina, whatever, can get back with my two things that I had. So if they can get them within a week or something, you know, then I'm good to do it.
I mean, I'll put it as a placeholder, and then if we don't have time, we can always do it the second meeting. And Mark, you're comfortable with the fourth, or for the
Design update?
design update?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're squeaking in, but I think it's the right time. So let's do it.
Okay. And Chris, have you reached out to anybody at the Mandarin to see if they can come?
Yeah, so Robert couldn't make this meeting. He was having surgery tonight, I guess, so good luck, Robert. So I sent him an email about the 4th. I haven't heard back yet, but I'll keep you updated by the end of this week, whether or not it's gonna happen. I'll follow up with him
Okay.
again.
Yeah, we can always do it when, I don't know what kind of surgery it is, but we could always do it another time, but I'll leave it there for now.
Mhm.
And then I'll take any other feedback. I think Caitlin put, I forget what meeting she put the capital plan on. Where is that? I'm looking for it. Caitlin, did we put that somewhere in the future meeting?
Yes, that's in March. March 18th meeting, master plan discussion.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that is. That's there.
Yeah.
We discussed that last time. I'll take any other suggestions.
So one quick one, Carlo. So the Council on Aging is meeting on Monday nights, and I'm not able to attend most of those. So it might make sense to reassign, see if someone else might be willing to cover that. So maybe if we could have that on the next agenda.
Oh, for liaison?
Yeah, or informally, people listening might interpret this one.
Okay.
We have two liaisons, so I can try to fit it in my schedule.
But it's been hard for us both, so.
Yeah,
And
well,
Mondays I just can't, so.
I was relieved of my duties, so I might actually have more time.
Okay, we can add that, yeah.
Cool.
For the 4th,
All right, I have a couple items, Carlo.
yeah.
Okay, so, under the same night, we're gonna, discuss and vote on kiosks. I understand that, so you all remember we voted to allow Austin Prep to park down at the train depot, and I understand from staff that they went in a different direction. So just as a housekeeping matter, I think it would be a good idea for the select board to just revoke that permission. It's unnecessary. The reason it came to my attention, the reason I asked staff is because it's very empty, so it's very available. And in winter, people want to park as close as they can, it's fine. But as it gets warmer, we can continue to encourage employees and people and whoever's allowed. That is a lot of parking down there. And I am happy to see that the MBTA lots are filling up, like people are going back to the trains or being forced to go back to the office. So anyway, it's just a little item to revoke permission for Austin Prep to park there. It's not needed, it's housekeeping. I've gotten a couple of requests, I don't know if other members have, to really take up whether we could have a Reading Disability Council. Am I saying that correctly? Council on Disabilities. I understand Fidel discussed it with the resident. So it's more than just, it wouldn't just be seniors, but I could see it being, it needs to be throughout the ages, age groups, age brackets in town. But I don't know that much of how other communities have done it, so.
Yeah, it'd be another committee. We could add another committee for that. So right now, you could either have a committee or you can designate a person as the ADA coordinator. And right now, Laura Gem's designated as the ADA. And she works with Brett, who's the building inspector. This did come up, I remember, sometime in the last 10 years. I looked into it pretty early on as something that the select board at the time was interested in, but didn't do, so.
Yeah, and where now we have 30% of the population is in that 60 plus and it's growing. That's my first go-to, but obviously it's not just seniors. And sometimes I think, and you've gone to more meetings than me, is the council on aging too big? Like, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, maybe there are volunteers that are willing to step up, especially like the resident who keeps emailing me.
Okay. Well, you can pass that along to the resident as well, so.
Yeah. Okay, could we plan to have a discussion on how we are going to facilitate one or two special town votes to take care of the two very important capital projects we talked about, and how that's gonna work. I would like us to, even if it's just a preliminary discussion about what we're thinking, same time, two different initiatives, that would be great. And I, based on some new developments and the fact that it's ongoing, I would like this board to have another executive session on the Davenport litigation. I think it's really important, and it's been over 2 weeks.
Okay.
All right, so right now, I think it was mentioned, well, I won't even talk about it. Well, it was mentioned, so I think the election is set in May. So we can do an update for the board, probably, I'll try for the 18th. I think the 4th is gonna be very robust with the MBTA if they come. So I can do an update on our two main projects, discuss our two projects for a timeline. On the 18th, there was a meeting of OPM's chairs of various committees in that, and we could do that same presentation, or not all of it. So I think that's a good idea. Yes, Karen, are you looking to actually discuss forming a committee, or you want Matt to look into it?
For what, the Disability Council?
Yeah.
So Matt's gonna pick somebody to help him out with this. I
Yeah.
think it'd be nice for the select board to be more educated, so at least I can respond to that resident and invite her and let her come and help us as well. And that's not like in the next 4 4 to 6 weeks if
Okay.
things get tight.
Great.
Okay, all right, just, okay, so.
Okay. Carl, a couple other things, if we could we block out some time on both 218 and 34 for, let's call it ReCal project information? I think you had requested cost information, and I think our schedule, the PBC schedule, I think would allow for that to be on 218. I think that's right. So if we can block out some time for that, and then on 3-4, probably a vote. And then the last piece Karen mentioned in terms of election kinds of things, just as you mentioned, Carla, just thinking about when that might be, a discussion for that,
Yeah,
where that would fit.
all right, so, okay, I think you're right, I forget when the 18th, I thought that was gonna be tight, but if that works, I'll definitely put it on there.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's tight and it'll work.
Okay. All right, and then a vote on the 4th?
Yes, of March.
Okay. Got it. And someone just mentioned Austin Prep. And Karen, do you think we have to vote on that?
Well, we took a vote to give them permission. Again, it's just housekeeping.
Okay, all right, that's fine. And Matt, no reason for anyone to discuss with Matt. Did anybody from Arcadia Ave reach out to you about complaints of the students?
Not recently, no. No,
Okay.
did any?
No, I asked Deputy Amendola that question
Yeah.
the other day, and she said they have not received any complaints from residents since they've instituted the one side of the street. And they will be coming back to this board looking to make that temporary order a permanent order. So it seems to have been successful.
Okay, I've heard otherwise, but again, it's nothing official.
Okay.
So I just wanna-
Okay.
She did more.
Okay. Anything else, guys? I think that's pretty full for the next 3 weeks, right? 3 meetings, I mean. Okay, and because I honestly think, February 4th is gonna be over an hour for MBTA at least.
Well,
No, it's
maybe you
not-
could think
it's
about
not
some
long.
parameters for that, or since Matt has told us they are gonna do a public community outreach. I would agree, because the conservation hearing was pretty long and they tried to keep, so how much of our meeting do you want to be taken up?
Well, it's a big issue for this neighborhood, so I think,
It is, and they're giving us good info, but we've already heard it, so like, do we want, like, I guess it's like balancing, do we have to sit through it again at our meeting, or is it an opportunity for us to hear new information and the residents to hear new information? I guess,
Well, yeah,
and
I
that
think
gets to your point, not
presentations
repeating
needed.
stuff.
presentation is needed, hopefully Matt and Jane will work on that, so it's in our packet. And then I think it's just that we discuss it and maybe 1 or 2 representatives from the neighborhood, not everybody.
Mm.
I think we'll have to put some guardrails in, so it's not a free-for-all, because a lot of people are upset and rightfully so, so.
And just reminding them that they're whenever this other community meeting is, so if not, everything's answered, it's not the end of their line.
Correct, but yeah, conservation, I hope they wouldn't vote before a community meeting takes place. But again, that's not up to me.
I think Matt said February 12th.
February 12th, will be the next meeting that they discuss it, and I would say they could vote, but even if conservation votes, in talking to the T, they won't do anything until we have our select board meeting in the community meeting.
Great,
And
Great.
I'll take them at their word for that, but that's
Yeah.
what they told me.
Awesome.
So, yeah. With the reps and senators right there, so eyewitnesses.
All right, I think we're good on future agendas for now. Are we on minutes next? What, I think it's next, right?
Yep.
I have no idea.
Any edits? Caitlin, we have 2 sets of minutes.
Yep, I did not receive any in advance, so I got them.
I have no edits.
Nothing.
think I had one small comment, in just one sec, on the 4th. On the 4th, in the second to last paragraph, where it talks about public services, and then it has, in all caps, MNRHSO. We probably should just explain what that is.
Oh.
Okay.
The municipal.
I'll spell it out, yep.
Yeah, I went, I got, housing, but I put
Yeah.
MNRHSO.
Okay,
Those six additional-
is that it for that one, guys?
Yep.
Yep.
And in the previous meeting, is that one okay? Okay, Chris, so the second one is amended, so we can do the first one as written, if you wanna.
Yep, move to approve the meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2024 as presented.
Second.
Second, okay, I'll do a roll call. Melissa,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Carlo, yes. And on to the next ones.
Move to approve the meeting minutes from December 4th, 2024 as amended.
Second.
Second, I forgot to say any discussion, sorry, on the other one, I didn't think it would be any discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote. Melissa,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Carlo, yes. Thank you. I think we have, I'm scrolling, sorry. The executive session is next, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Move to enter executive session under purpose 2 to conduct a strategy session in preparation for negotiations with the town manager, to invite town council to attend the executive session and to return to open session.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion?
No.
I don't see any hands. Okay, roll call vote. Melissa,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Yeah, Karen, yes, sorry, didn't mean to say that. Karen, yes. Carlo, yes. And, do we need to read the second part?
Right, Carlo.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, everyone, everyone who's awake, we have come back from executive session. We are now back in open session. And Matt has rejoined us, and we have Ivrea on Zoom as well as myself. And we discussed the town manager contract, and I'm gonna give it to Chris.
Move to enter an employment agreement between the town of Reading and Matthew Cornelis for service as town manager through June 30th, 2026, as reflected in the contract presented today.
Second.
Second for Mark, thank you. Any discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, I'm gonna go to roll call vote. Melissa?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Carlo is a yes. All right. And now I am going to just say a brief statement. So we had two executive sessions on this, and I'm not going to discuss what happened in executive session, but we shared our feedback in open session with Matt, and we want to look forward. And Matt has responded positively over the past several weeks to our feedback. And we want to extend his contract until June 30th, 2026. And we all look forward to that. We're all on the same page, and we want Matt to stay as long as he's willing to stay and show us that he can lead the town and do the job that is before him.
Motion to adjourn?
No?
No,
Well,
no.
no, well,
Okay, sorry, I retract that.
No, if I could just follow up on what Carlos said.
Because it was too short?
It was too short. And plus, this has to be happy and joyous and not awkward and ridiculous at the moment.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate the last couple of weeks, Matt, and I really truly looking forward to working with you in the future and beyond, regardless of what lawyers may say, et cetera. That's my feeling. I think it's the board's feeling. It's up to everyone else, but just continue on the path that you're on, and it'll be a long relationship that you have here. So I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Thank everybody for
Thanks, Matt.
extending. I look forward to working as I have for the last 10 years and continuing that work in Reading and giving it all I have, so.
Great. Awesome.
So I have the contract for Matt to sign, and then we can all sign it.
Yeah, we're gonna formalize it tonight, and I will sign it when I get back.
I think we gotta put a date on it.
Okay. It's today anyway.
I don't even know.
Is it
21st.
still the 21st?
Yep.
Yep. Just want to remind everybody, we're running a timely meeting tonight. Thank you, everybody.
It's because you're remote, Carlo. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you think that's the key?
I didn't say that, Karen did.
Unfortunately, it's not that much warmer in Florida, believe it or not, right now. At least where I am.
It's snow in New Orleans.
Yeah, Texas got snow, yeah, it's, yeah.
Some areas of Florida did too.
There we go.
Will you sign when you get back, Carlo, or should we use the stamp on it, or does it matter?
I would like to formally sign it if you don't mind. I mean,
That's fine.
I don't mind the stamp if it's needed. If
No,
it
no,
is,
I don't think so.
Sign it on Monday.
Yeah, we'll hold it for you.
I just want to make sure before we circulate it that we redact your personal info, Matt.
Okay, sure.
But other than that, it's a public record.
Okay.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you.
Second, and no discussion on motion to adjourn, roll call vote. Melissa,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Carlo, yes. Thank you, and thank you, Matt, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.